Folks, we are going to continue working on the Spelljammer Combat and Exploration supplement that we see here. So I'm going to check my signal, go through my intro spiel, and then we're going to get to work. For folks that are catching us in the future, hi the future, you can skip forward like maybe a minute or less to skip the intro if you've already heard it before. But if you're new to the channel, welcome to the mix. My name is Phil Kearney. I create role-playing games, I illustrate them, and then I publish them online. I've been focusing my attention on Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition here for the past 5 years. You can find links to all my stuff in the description down below. Not all my stuff, but you can find a slew of my stuff in the description down below. I publish on DMsGuild.com. If you're an art enthusiast and you like pushing the pixels with me, there's probably about 150 different illustrations among the books that I have linked down below. They all have free previews, so if you're on desktop, when you go into each individual page for each book, you'll see a full preview link underneath the cover of the book. And if you are on mobile phone, there'll be an eye icon on the right-hand side of the screen that you can click on to... I'm checking buttons here real quick. Yeah, in either case, it'll throw open a PDF. If you're an art enthusiast, like I said, there's about 150 different illustrations for you to check out. If you're a D&D game mechanics enthusiast as a DM or as a player, hey Karen, there's probably the stuff that I have in those books is designed for both players and DMs. I run campaigns from level 1 to 20 in about 200 to 250 hours. And most of the things that I build are I either need for a campaign that I'm running and it turned out being cool, so I published it, or I want to run a campaign and I don't have the mechanics to do it, and I think it'd be a cool idea, so then I publish it. So either way, you guys are benefiting from the stuff that I use at my own table. Like I said, campaigns from level 1 to 20 in about 200 hours, so I get to kick through different tiers of content fairly regularly to see how stuff plays out. Yeah, so that's the spiel. Check it out. I just posted I'm live on Twitter, so if you want to get notifications when I'm live in the future, you can follow me on Twitter at Phil Kearney. Otherwise, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon to get notifications when I'm around. We're trying to get to 250 subscribers. And if you find any of this stuff cool and interesting and you want to see more, then please like and subscribe with me. Thanks a lot. So let's see, what are we doing here? We are at episode 254 right now. And we created this book cover back around episode 15, so you can check the playlist back at the beginning of it all to see us building this out if you want. So when I say we build role-playing games, illustrate them, publish them online, we have an idea about something I want to have in a campaign, we test it, it works well, we flesh out the text for all the niggly bits, and then we send it off to an editor to make sure that it words right. When the editor is done wording with us, he'll send it back, and we can then take what was given to us, break it up into each individual page so that all the ideas inside of the document are digestible like this. And once those are all laid out, we can zoom into each individual page. We can copy this as a PDF, and we can drop it into the document for us to then paint on. So that's where we're at in the process right now. Continuing page 66. Hey Karen, when you were around last time, this image was up over here in this corner, and we had to do some massive surgery because the text wasn't laying out the way that I wanted it to. The messaging wasn't what I wanted it to be. And now that we've rebuilt this thing, I want to make sure. Roboto 10, thank you. Roboto 10, thank you. We had some formatting issues, we had some text issues, and I had some stuff turned around. So at this point, we have completely redone all the text on this page. And so let's see, departing spherical gravity, we broke off. It was over in this column over here. This gravity field was far more trite and it was up in the corner here. This was a vertical space, but now we've made it a horizontal space because we're emphasizing the ring. So here we're talking about gravity rings. Clusters of objects without spherical gravity drifting together naturally align their gravity planes over time as they collide and shift about into layers. I should actually change that into fields. In the case of rings orbiting a planet, objects outside the space occupied by the space aren't affected by the spherical into fields. Far enough apart that the gravity plane isn't let's see, fields far enough apart that that the gravity planes don't don't align with any others. In the case of rings, there we go. Okay, cool. So all I had to do was change around into fields far enough apart, period. There we go. So we'll change the word layer to fields. I feel like I've got buttons to press over here. There. Fields far enough apart that the gravity planes don't align with any others. In the case of rings orbiting a planet, objects outside the space occupied by the planet aren't affected by the spherical gravity. And over here we mentioned that when a smaller object enters the space of an object with spherical gravity, it naturally falls towards the object at their current speed or at 500 feet per round, whichever is faster, until it collides with the object as detailed in the collision section above. In the case of rings orbiting a planet, objects outside the space occupied by the planet aren't affected by its spherical gravity. Yeah, it probably should be by its spherical gravity. By the planet's spherical gravity. Cool. Any object larger than 10 miles in diameter will have spherical gravity, but any rocks or other objects in the ring that are smaller than 10 miles in size can all align in the same gravity plane that occupies the space surrounding the planet, beyond the influence of the spherical gravity. In the illustration to the left and below, a small 800-mile planet A occupies a 1,000-mile square with rings of rocks ranging from 50 feet to 5.5 to 10 miles in size. This is sufficient space for vegetation and communities to take root. Water caught in the gravity planes drains into the spaces between the rocks, forming a long river system and weather on both sides of the ring. So what's up? Did you save? Yeah. I saved it. Yeah. I think I can use it later. We're going to have a backing up, dropping down here past the menagerie, past ship hazards. We have a wild system generator here. That we can roll dice to create planets and stuff. So there's abundant space for us to drop that planet in here as part of an illustration. We're going to be doing like grids and just like creating random systems off of these rolls, and then filling in these gaps with the results of what these rolls are. And I think I can just cheat that planet in. I like how it turned out. It's a good looking planet, but there's only like what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 pages here, but of those 5 pages, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 illustrations needed in these 5 pages, and of them, 1, 2, 3 of them are half pages. So we're gonna let maps, grids, and spheres do a lot of the work for us on these pages. I don't think it's gonna be nearly as arduous for us to finish that page like a lot of the combat art has, because of the amount of detail that goes into that stuff. Creature menagerie is all done. The hazards, ship hazards section is all done. So we are currently we're working on this. So, and I feel like I found some redundancy in the text here. In the case of rings orbiting a planet, objects outside the space occupied by the planet aren't. I'm not liking that wording. I'm futzing. Apparently, I'm futzing. I'm having a real inefficient morning in general. So let's just lean into that inefficiency and fuck around with some text for a little bit before we get back into painting the ring world. So traveling in wild space, planetary objects, gravity fields. In this case, any object larger than 10 miles in diameter will have spherical gravity. In the case of rings orbiting a planet, and rings orbiting a planet, objects outside the space occupied by the planet aren't affected. In the case of rings orbiting a planet, objects outside the space occupied in the case of rings orbiting a planet, okay, that's fair. Objects outside, in the case of rings orbiting a planet, objects outside the space, but any rocks or objects that are smaller than 10 miles in size can align in the same gravity plane that occupies the space surrounding the planet. Beyond the see, this is a redundant statement here. In the same gravity plane that occupies the space surrounding a planet versus, in the case of rings orbiting a planet, objects outside the space occupied by the planet aren't affected. In the case of rings orbiting a planet, any object larger than 10 miles in diameter, any objects, maybe that's what we need. I'm fucking around, don't mind me. Hey, good morning, Zona. We're trying to fix some text here. And then we'll reload the page and we'll continue painting. So, for reference, this is where we got to yesterday. Where'd you go? This is where we are now in comparison to where we were yesterday. So we took some time last night and reformatted the page and some of the text that went into it. We fixed all the time elapse. We reduced the size because it's unlikely you're going to run across a planet that's larger than 100 million miles in size or 100,000 miles in size. But we have the progression here in case you need to. So let's see. Right, text. Let's fix this. In the case of rings orbiting a planet, let's peel open another document. So, okay. Clusters of objects without spherical gravity. I'm going to extract this as well. My body says, oh. Clusters of objects without spherical gravity drifting together naturally align their gravity planes over time as they collide and shift about into fields far enough apart into fields. In the case of rings orbiting a planet, objects outside the space occupied by the planet aren't affected. In the case of rings orbiting a planet, this is the job. This is the unglorious stuff that people don't see me doing, which is why I do so much stuff not on camera. Clusters of objects without spherical gravity there. Clusters of objects without spherical gravity drifting together naturally align their gravity planes over time as they collide and shift about into fields. In the case of rings orbiting a planet, any objects large, any object smaller, any object 10 miles or smaller in diameter, any object any object 10 miles in diameter or smaller, any object 10 miles in diameter or smaller Any objects in miles in diameter or smaller will occupy longer because the objects are smaller than 10 miles square in a line of objects the sun is on planet, the spaces surrounding the planet plane in a ring that are smaller than 10 miles in size. In the case of rings orbiting a planet, any object or smaller can yellow. So clusters of objects without spherical gravity drifting together naturally align their gravity planes over time as they collide and shift about into fields. In the case of rings orbiting a planet, any object 10 miles or diameter or smaller can all in the case of rings orbiting a planet, or other debris orbiting or other in the case of rings of rock or other debris orbiting a planet smaller than 10 miles in diameter, smaller than 10 miles in diameter can all align in the same gravity plane that occupies the spaces surrounding the planet beyond the influence of its spherical gravity. I think that's going to work. So clusters of objects without spherical gravity drifting together naturally align their gravity planes over time as they collide and shift about into fields. In the case of rings of rocks or other debris smaller than 10 miles in diameter, in the case of rings of rock, in the case of rings, rings surrounding a planet are examples of rock or other debris smaller than 10 miles in diameter that has rings surrounding a planet are examples of rock or other debris smaller than 10 miles in diameter that can align. Examples of rocks or other debris smaller than 10 miles in diameter that can align in the same gravity plane that occupies the space surrounding the planet beyond the influence of its spherical gravity. In the illustration to the left and below, a small 800-mile planet, A, occupies a 1,000-mile square with the rings of rock ranging from 50 feet to 5.5 miles in size. B, that is sufficient space for vegetation and community to take root. Water caught in the gravity plane drains into the spaces between the rocks, forming a long river system and weather on both sides of the ring. Of the ring's gravity plane. Period. Any objects, clusters, blah. Holy crap, I think we just really condensed that down. Praiseworthy. Let's grab this, let's copy, then paste, and then we'll extract the page. This is what they call getting paid the big bucks, folks. This is how, oh my god, that almost fit. I use Microsoft Word for my graphic, for my layout programs, and it allows me to break up text into these little boxes that I can then shift about and rearrange as I need. It's a little tall. Let's push this down just a touch. I'm lining up along the top edge of that word can. Can. Let's see where I'm at. Up touch. There we go. Spherical gravity. And then here. We're going to make this a separate paragraph. So we're going to get rid of, we're going to put a break between those lines. Copy. Oh my lord. There, how about that? Not enough gap. How's stuff sit here? We got our text line here. It just breaks. It's just even with the D. Woof. Oh my god, did they make this so efficient that we don't have to break frame anymore? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. What? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Damn. I don't think we have to break frame anymore. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Holy crap. Yeah, we reduced that by effectively 4 lines. So let's get rid of that. We don't need that anymore. There. Okay, I think we have a page. Cool. Okay, so this is, I'm going to hit save. This is how we do this. We hit save, and then we got our page here. So let's get our, too far. So this is too close. Let's pull this up a touch. Cool. All right, so here's our text. We're going to go up here. I'm going to break frame. We're going to get rid of that. Escape. Here, we're now going to go into File, Extract, or Export as a PDF to the interior pages of Exploration. Page 66 is where we're at. Options equal current page only. Publish only the document, none of the comments. Get rid of the properties, get rid of the tags for accessibility, equals okay. We already have page 66. We're going to publish. Yes, I want to replace it. Pops open a PDF. Here's our page without any of the frame around it. So we close that. We click on here. We hit undo. So we get our dressing back. I now hit save again so I don't lose my dressing on accident. I now have a PDF that I can import here into Photoshop. So let's go to open, and then we go to page 66, and we'll select the PDF in question. Okay, opens. It's only the text because we got rid of the dressing in the background, so that gave us a transparent background. That now here in Photoshop, our text PDF is transparent. So I now select all text. I copy it. The size of this page is the same as this page. So when I copy the text from one page and I come over here to text. 1 second. text. I can now paste in place, and it automatically aligns itself to the page where it should be. I can now destroy the text. I can rename the text. I can lock the text. I can then go to our map illustration here. I can reposition it so it's sitting in this space. Now I have to think about, do I want to, am I content with where this is at on the page, or do I feel like it's crowding the text? I feel like it's crowding the text. So I want to drop this down, but it has to stay in this position, otherwise I have to reword my text. If I take this grid, right, and I put it down here, that starts eating into this environment painting. I don't want that. I've got a really clean, third page down here with the planet breaking the border, which I like. I like that frame breaking. That's complementary. I like how I have all these lined up now. I'm okay with this. See, I could like do something like put it down here in this space, all overlapping the planet, but I don't like that either. I like the bottom of the, I like having these little tags implying that this is just part of a much larger grid environment that we're just using. We've had that same language throughout the document, that we hang off these tags of the grid off the end. So now I'm looking at potentially being super cheeky. We want all the text to fit in the space as it's supposed to, but we can manipulate how it sits in that space. Line up the Q and the P. And I can line up the edge of the P with the S. Now slide this on over. On a .500-foot grid. I can manipulate the text like that. Can be approached. But take the B. So this is how we do it. This is the process. I skip this most of the time because it's not very interested listening to me say the words over and over again. Scoot the text. Say the words over and over again. Scoot the text. You know? And 1 mile. B. Can. See, I can come in here and I can individually manipulate each word, and then when I like what the words are, I can go back here and I can reproduce that effect, re-upload the page into here, and then start painting again. But I have to make sure that I like where everything sits. .500 space, can, Says can be approached no faster than 1 mile per round or 10 squares. 1 mile per round or 10 squares on a 500-foot scale grid. On a 500-foot scale grid. There. Can. Foot. That feels better already, like that. Huh. Merge down. It feels a little pinchy, but merge down. But we can carve a hole in the space here. Have it now occupy that space a little more cleanly. I think that might be okay. Is that I don't like that little hanger there, so I think I can probably buff out that sentence a little bit, but I want to have it lined up. Oh, that's nice. That they have this. See, we have this here, that period. That creates a nice little border here for our map to use as a frame reference. And that feels just about right. Okay, I'm going to let that sit. I'm going to hit save here real quick. We're going to now have one without the other. Back to this. I don't know if this is entertaining to people or not. Yeah, I'm sure I do. Period after playing. Thank you. Boop. Very appreciated. Let's see. For example, let's see. Waterdeep occupies a 10-mile space. The maximum speed, blah 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 blah. Their particular pub. A 500-foot. That's supposed to be hyphenated, because when you use a descriptive term like 500 feet or 500 foot space, that's a hyphenated word, because 500 feet modify 500. Both of those modify space. So a modifier adjective in front of a noun in English equals a hyphenated word. So it's a 500 foot space. It's a subtle difference, but it matters. It also matters here because we've got that period breaking through the feet, and I don't like to drop hyphenated shit. And oh my God, look at that. The miracle of miracles. That lines up. Wow. Fateful. Or oof, God, that's close enough for science, I bet. No faster. Let's see, that's 1, 2, 3, 4 lines. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines. That still sits, and I can always push down the planet a touch. Cool. Let's give this a look-see. A 500-foot space approached no faster, or 10 squares on a fuck you. That sits really, really nicely. What if we did this instead? One, two, three, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1 grid. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Eesh. Yeah, I liked it better the other way. I have some. Timely timer. Cheers, Karen. Zona, that's great. I have some skills in proofreading. Thank you, Karen. Truly appreciate it. Actually, because I look at these pages over and over and over again, and I hire an editor to look stuff over and over and over again, and then I look stuff over and over and over again, and then I change a shitload of stuff, and my editor's like, "What are you doing?" It's like, it's for the greater good, I promise. It's like, I don't know. Adam Hancock's a great guy. Infinitely patient with my shenanigans. Editing is creating a consistent format that you can use. Proofreading, as you say, Karen, is spotting stupid shit that I've fucked up previously that needs fixing. Here, a particular pub on. There it is. A particular pub on. That's what was missing. I didn't have to break there. I could break. Oh my god, can I not? What? That doesn't make any sense. Why are you doing that? 10-mile square grid, period. There should totally be room for that. Pub on. Oh my god, what a bitch. This is the living hate. For example, the city of Waterdeep occupies a 10-mile space. The maximum speed a ship can move across towards it without passing. The maximum speed a ship can move without passing it. Thank you. Without passing it is 10 squares on a 10-mile square grid. A particular pub I don't need to specify on the docs, so a particular pub that occupies, thank you, a 500-foot space can be approached. 1, 2, 3, 4. How does that go? 1, 2, 3, 4 lines in is full break. 1, 2, 3, 4 lines is full break. We now go to the period here and break here. Look at that shit. And this is why I love doing this work. Holy crap. Or, oops. Still pretty damn good. Not 100% perfect. Not as back slapping as it was a moment ago, but it's still decent. 1, 2, 3. Cool. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm in Rob. I like having no hate on people that don't choose an editor. I like having an editor because it creates it gives me a structure that I can refer back to repeatedly, because I have to go, like, during this process I have to make a lot of changes to text to make things work. That's just part of the editorial and the design, the layout design process. Having an editor gives me a backstop of a third party that creates a consistent sound and structure to the words that I can continuously go back to and check any changes that I make against other formatting that was already created. I could technically take that formatting and create it myself and then start self-checking myself in that. But I find having that, I find it's worth investing in that extra person, because they're giving me that second look of, you should word things differently, like X, Y, or Z, or like this is like, they'll have ideas like hyphenation. Like, I didn't know to study how hyphenations worked until I started seeing how Adam was using hyphenation in the language that I was presenting. I didn't know to look that stuff up to understand those rules until I started seeing my editor demonstrate it. It would have been impossible for me to be able to demonstrate it because I wasn't aware of it personally until I got there. I assume that the longer I spend doing this, the deeper my own internal library of how text works will allow me to catch more and more and more mistakes. But it's little subtleties like that for me that I need to I need to continue investing in people with more experience until I look at their work. How to put it? I know I've outgrown an editor when I look at their work and I can see a flaw in what they had done. At that point, I know I've reached I'm at least on par with them as far as like being able to create an overall composition. And then I start looking at breaking down how are they exploring different individual blocks of text. And if they're pulling off things that I wouldn't have, I'm not naturally seeing, then that's somebody that I feel I can continue to invest in. So far, I think I've only outgrown one editor, and I've worked with like maybe 5, 6, or 7 different editors across, maybe like 6 editors across the different books I've created. Oh, I won't name names. Because that's not what it's all about. There's also a difference between casual language versus more technical, mechanical language. And depending on what kind of skill set your proofreader has is going to determine how they bring those tools into the text that you have. So I tend to find a lot of technical editors to help me with the ideas that I build. And then they often are also proofreaders. But I've also worked with people that only do proofreading. And boy, it's specialization really makes it departing. There we go. Let's do that. It's a lot easier to be a proofreader than a technical editor. That's for sure. It's nice accumulating both of the skills, though. Let's go. Let's do this again. Dun, dun, like that. Hit save. Didn't get a lot of art done today, did I? That's okay. This is part of the process. Export, PDF, interior pages, exploration, 66, options, current page only. You can see down here, page 66, current page only, document, no write-up, no properties, no structure tags, publish, replace. Good. Close, undo, resave, file, open, 66, page, okay, select all, copy, paste in place, not bad, close, no, delete, txt, txt, lock. There we go. Now, map here. It's a little pinched. Just want to reduce the size a touch to give it a little bit of breathing room. That feels pretty good. Nice. So, yeah, I'm not trying to crap on you at all. When I start publishing stuff on Patreon, and just like hey, here's a free thing on Patreon, I'm not going to spend money on an editor if I'm just going to post something on Patreon. But yeah, if I'm going to ask people to spend money on me, I'm going to spend money on an editor. But that's just, some people are good enough that they don't need to do that. I am not one of those people. And the amount of technical work, like I'm constantly, like, if I build a document, it's probably because I'm trying to bend how 5e works, like what the mechanics are, like the color mana system, the spell point document, the Spelljammer document that we're working on here, like the In Command series, like the Guild and Kingdom system that we have. All that stuff takes 5e and like pushes it past one of its normal borders. And so in that instance, I feel like I definitely need an editor because I'm exploring new mechanical space, and there might be concepts and ideas that I don't realize I don't understand yet. So, but yeah, I'm not trying to guilt you into. I hope it didn't come across that way. I'm not trying to labor shame anyone. Is that a word? Labor shame? I like that word. I want that to be a word. I very much like that. Let's go with. Okay, I am now into actual artwork again. Let's go with this, just off the cuff. I am literally establishing borders right now in this piece to make sure that I like what it's doing moving forward. We're gonna go to hello. Ungroup. Good. There. This is this is one of the reasons why it takes so long for me to publish a piece, because I'm constantly, while I go through this process of doing artwork, I end up staring at the text forever. And when I do that, it starts to speak at me. And it's like, you could do this better. I'm like, I could do this better. You should change this thing. I should change that thing. And then it just gets worse and worse and worse. It just spirals further and further down. Perfect. Perfect. Cool. Yeah, no, we don't have to have the top capped. So there's that, but we have everything framed now properly. Blip. Bloop, bloop, bloop. There. Now we have everything sitting inside of its edges. And I don't see anything particularly going on here that requires me to break frame. I think the borders we actually built are proper borders for where we're at. 730. Yeah, 729. I'm gonna give myself yeah, I got 25 minutes left, so we'll get some stuff done. Let's see. There's my planet. I think I can actually make use of you right now after all. Let's make a duplicate. Hey, duplicado. Alright. Isn't it so bittersweet? Going to disable the layer mask. Nope, wrong button. There we go. That'll do. Ring sphere. Planet gets tossed into the trash. There. Let's see. There, made use of the planet after all, huh? Very good. Planet, we'll put a lock on the planet so we don't accidentally screw it up somehow. Now we actually get to get back to work. This is where we were supposed to begin. But I think we're wiser and better for it. Like every time I have to do a page of art, like stuff like this is the process that happens. Rarely can I go into a page and not have to fuck around with the text or rearrange stuff or reword stuff or whatever, or like realize I made a stupid mistake, whatever along the way. Let's see. Voodoo. All right, so I guess the next thing that we're going to do is just going to start. Yeah, I'm just going to start working working on this. Smudge that out. Yes. Yeah, my tablet's been acting a little glitchy. It's been a couple years since I've had any issues with one. This one is starting to feel like it's non-responsive. Oh, maybe I need to update the drivers. That's probably what's going on. I'll check that out afterwards. Timely timer. I have a whole pot of hot coffee over here, and I haven't touched it a second. Ah, man. That is satisfying. We can blend these together. That does effectively cheat the border. Thank you. God, something weird is... I think I have to restart my computer and check my drivers. This is not acting responsively I'm changing, see, it's not registering. Oh, there it is. My nib is ground down so much on one side from angles that it's not acknowledging that I'm actually pressing on it. That's hilarious. Here. Fade this in. That. We can box this in with more frames to smudge this all out. But right now I'm just trying to work in a basic background for us to know how much contrast we can have in the buildings and and the rocks and the water that we're going to put in the ring world. Here. This is where we want to be with that. Bleed that all together. Yeah, there we go. This manual stuff takes a little while to do, but I don't like. I try to minimize how much stuff I automate. I like having control over. Like understanding how the pixels work together to make things happen. There. There. Come on, turkey. Oh man. Okay, there we go. Yeah, this. Yeah, I gotta replace this nib. That's 100% what's going on. Drop down strength so I can smudge that in a little bit better. There. Decent gradient. It's not perfect. But if I wanted perfection, I'd let a machine do it. I will hit with the Gaussian blur, though. I'm okay with that. Cool. All right. And we know we're going to have to block stuff in some more. Oof. That's right on the edge. Alright, that's good enough for the moment. I can now toss my reference into the trash. Nice. No need for references here, son. Back ring, planet, ring. Now I gotta get the curve of this right. Good. Scale, sense of perspective, depth, distance. It's going to be a little tricky. Me sorting out. Do that. Good. Figuring out like how large buildings can I depict inside of this space compared to how large is like this foreground supposed to actually be in comparison to like say this ring here. If this is an 800 mile across, that's 400 miles. So this is about a 200 mile strip that we're looking at here. Like the width of this is about 200 miles, which is plenty enough terrain for like a nation or something, like to actually develop some sort of a community that you can settle on. But I have to be mindful of how large the buildings are to make sure that they retain their sense of scale to the planet that they are framing. We're going to have to destroy this eventually. But for now, this is building a good framework for like the ground, you know? Like, what do we have to build on? And this is turning out really, really nicely for that. There. Good. Here. Start bending this just a little bit, maybe. Just trying to obviously get this angle right. Like I need to narrate why I'm obsessing over these pixels. There we go. Better good. I can smooth this back in through there. All right, so there we have this established. We have the ring established. We can block all these in. Planet. Space. Now let's see about I feel like the light's coming in from this angle, like this way. So that's the light we'll use as a reference. Apparently I don't need this arrow here. Thank you. I'm almost out of time. Yep, I got a minute left. So looks like this time was well invested in us setting ourselves up to win for tomorrow and next week. Apparently, I honestly have no idea how long I'm going to want to spend creating and messing around with stuff on here to tie together the ring and the planet. A thin ring of blue or lavender to tie together the ring to the planet. And that lavender was, oh, I should go fetch that. Hold on. We had that on. Was this the color you were talking about? Is that the lavender? Huh. A little darker. Yeah, seems to be the darkest one we used. Cool. Maybe if we drop the blue a little bit. How's that? Does that feel a little better? Excellent. Thank you for the guidance, Karen. So we're gonna make rocks. So apparently we're gonna have some blue. Blue rocks, lavender. Okay, sure, that works. I mean, there's blue stone in like the Rocky Mountains, I think. Cascadias. Granite is blue. This lavender might be a little off flavor for normal rock, but it's Spelljammer, so go get fucked. And our timer popped, which means I have just a matter of just a few moments. So we got there. We're gonna have we're gonna end up dumping some water in here. We're gonna have rocks. We're gonna have structures on top of those rocks. Right now, we're just figuring. We're gonna have to figure out, like, way back here, you won't be able to see anything other than like dots from like a light community. But we have the opportunity to put some buildings in here and like a little lake and stuff. That's what we want to do. So so when we come back, we're just going to be doing. I honestly have no idea how quickly we can get through it, but I could theoretically get through a small patch of terrain like this, potentially in an hour or two. So when we come back tomorrow, excellent. Yeah, so when we come back tomorrow, we have everything put in place here that we need for us to be able to build our Ring World kingdom. So we'll start building out stuff, and then we'll end it with Star Splash in the back. I'm pointing at the screen like you can see what my finger's doing. We'll have a bunch of Star Splash back here when we finish. We'll build up our structures here. We'll put in some water here. Should be pretty cool. I'm liking this. I'm liking this a lot. I wouldn't be able to do this with rings and gravity stuff like this if we had not changed the way that air envelopes surround objects to only occupy the square that they occupy. Like, as written, the Spelljammer Adventures in Space would have had the atmosphere of this 800, like this 1,000 mile space. Wizards would, as written, Spelljammer's Adventures in Space has the oxygen or the atmosphere of this planet occupying all of these squares, and would have gravity affecting you all the way out through these squares. So by restricting how far out gravity works to just be inside the space at the 10s, then this allows us to set up a ring like this that it feels more realistic, even though the physics that they're using are impossible. Okay, that's it. I gotta go. We're done for the day. Last comment. Have a good day. Thanks a lot, Karen. Thanks a lot, Zona. Thanks a lot, everyone who chains out. I'll be back tonight to do more cartography on Eberron as we continue working on the village map. I'll be back tomorrow morning to work on this. I'll be back on Saturday to work on the commission I've been hired to create for the book cover for the adventure that Andy Headley and Brian Holmes are creating. And then on Monday, we'll loop back around and we'll do it all again. So that's it for now, guys. I will see you later on tonight. Thanks a lot. Cheers.